Hello? Is this thing on? Can you hear me? 1, 2. Wait. I think it is working. What is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast, and we are back. Man, it has been some time off. It has been a month, more than a month officially. 0311 was the last episode that we did, but we are back, and batteries recharged. A lot of stuff going on. SoCal Rally. And all sorts of fun stuff. Hey, guess what? Episode 195. That is 195 episodes officially. Because there was a few, sneak previews in there. So I think we're above the 200 mark. But that is not why we are gathered here today. We are gathered here today to reintroduce the show. And we are back. And I'm excited about it. I was going to do the YouTube thing, but I'm like, you know what? Let's go OG. Let's go back to the roots. Hanging out with you guys here. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, music, and a bunch of other channels. Oh, look. Apple Podcasts says it's officially 205 episodes. Well, I'm calling it 195, episode 195, so let's talk. Got a few things going on. How's everybody been? Got to see a lot of you guys out at SoCal Rally. A little bit different this year. It's awesome to see how much it has grown, and it is absolutely a blast. Let's turn down the party a little bit. So lots of fun. I think we'll back into this whole thing because, man, we got some ground to cover. I think last time we talked, I was getting ready for SoCal Rally, prepping the Project 501 and getting that ready. And we'll talk about the express parts delivery brought to you in part by Mason Klein of Core Off-Road. And Ryan Norino. So, all right. So backing it up right now as we speak, it is day number 2 of the Sonora Rally School going off right now. We're keeping an eye on them on tracking. Roto and Darren running that one. My dad and uncle out there also supporting the Rally Comp team and making that happen. So very awesome to see that. Seems like everybody's having fun. I saw a lot of clean runs yesterday. A little bit of, a couple people riding off into the sunset, but well, it is rally training and that is how it's supposed to happen. You're going to have a couple of those or many of those if you're me at SoCal Rally this year, but it was a lot of fun. So that is going on right now. Sonora Rally School. Got a lot of stuff coming up. We are getting ready to get into the spring season. Portugal just finished up and that was exciting. Skylar Howe's out there. Skylar Howe's birthday today, Sunday, April 14th. So happy birthday to him. And I am sure he's out celebrating and having some time. He is back officially. We did have him out at Portugal finishing that rally up. Tasha Shirey also on Tasha Shireen. I will promise by the next episode, I will know how to pronounce that properly. But Tasha finishing up the rally on the podium, bringing it home for the rally team HRC. So very, very nice win there for the Monster Honda team. That was, and it looked like we were taking bets if they were going to bring the outboard motors out because it looked like they had a lot of rain this time around. So, but it looks like it was a lot of fun. The terrain looked awesome. I think that it was, it looked, at least from the highlights that I saw and some of the pictures that I saw, that it was definitely a fast one. But, hey, we will see that as it goes for rally. So let's back it up a little bit further and let's go into SoCal Rally. SoCal Rally went off. That was awesome. 4 days of road books. and even a calibration loop. So I guess you could count that as 5 days, but that was a lot of fun. I can officially say, even though it was a very long day for me and a friend, that we were out there riding, and I can say that I have officially finished my first road book. I know that doesn't sound, that's almost kind of feels like a duh. Shouldn't that happen? But well, this road book in particular, consisting of about a little over 200 kilometers, 220 kilometers. The author, none other than Brendan Crow on that one. It was very awesome to see. If you guys saw the pictures on the Chasing Waypoints Instagram, I posted a couple of pictures. Going to post one here in a little bit as well. But absolutely awesome. Just the right, I mean, like literally like the perfect amount of, I guess I could say rain came in before the event. No rain during the event except for Saturday, where it was looking a little gloomy there. And we did catch a bit of rain in the morning. And then, Sunday again, looked like it was pretty tame and not too bad. Not too cold either, which was nice to see. New location for this year's event. Very, very awesome. Or this year's ride or gathering. I don't know what you want to call it. But had a lot of fun with that one. Very, very challenging. A lot of things going on in these loops. It was pretty awesome to see how they were divided up, the rockier, harder terrain to one side, the more open desert stuff to the other side, lots of sand washes. And I guess the benefit of being a little bit slower and riding out in the desert was the sunset. We got an amazing, absolutely amazing sunset on the way back, headed into let me mute that, on the way back to the bivouac. To finish up the stage. Very nice. Finishing up right at dusk. I think we were one of the last ones to get back to the bivouac. So that was really awesome to see. Got to try out the lights. Moto-minded, of course, leading the way on that one. I've got their Epic system on the bike with the Squadron Pro from Baja Designs, and then the S2 Pro sitting right on top of that. Got the pencil beam version, so I got a little bit more distance out of it. Very happy with the lighting. Is it a full-on Baja race setup where you got 932,000 lumens where you don't want to look at it because it's brighter than the sun? Absolutely not. But for a stock headlight mask in a rally light configuration, that worked out really, really well. Very, very surprised at how much light I actually got from it, considering that before it only had the S4 or the Squadron Pro on there. So those additional 2,000 lumens sitting right up on top there gave me just the right amount of distance, which was awesome. It was exactly what I wanted. I just wanted a little bit more light out further. So that worked out really well. So working on some other stuff. I'm not going to allude to that. Yeah, well, I'll allude to it as far as that goes, but I'm working on another setup. I'm trying to perfect this this rally light thing, and things are coming. If you guys saw the pictures too, I have some stuff through RallyWorks, is what I'm calling it, to be able to mount a tablet, which we'll talk about that here in just a minute and how that worked. We got some new components on that one that I'll be sharing on the YouTube channel side of things. We'll do kind of a piece-by-piece review on it, but we did do, it's a mount, ran a tablet this time. Last year's event, I actually went with the paper roadbook, some RNS setups, rally comp, did that whole thing. But this time around, I'm like, okay, we're going to get into the digital thing, and we're going to see how does this work, right? Our goal and what we've been doing is, obviously is working and trying to get people that are getting new into rally or just curious about getting into rally and, finding the most cost-effective way to get into it. So very important, to see the sport grow and more people want to find out, hey, we've got rallies going all over. We've got a big presence now from the US. We've got, this guy, Ricky Brabeck, who has now officially won the Dakar Rally twice, doing it. So there's definitely a lot more interest. I'm still seeing the questions come through. The training is going on, all of these little things that are happening. And so more than excited and happy to help bring new people into it. And well, even including the new gig. So we'll talk about that in a few. So very, very awesome though. It was great to see everybody out there. It was pretty cool. Everything was just scattered out, everybody hanging out, talking, had my dad come out, the neighbor came out, another friend. We were just hanging out, the barbecue, all that fun stuff. So it was very, very awesome to see that. And just how many people were involved, seeing the growth and everybody talking about it. And it was just absolutely awesome. Cannot talk highly enough about that. So hopefully we will see this for the next year. and how that one goes. But hats off to the team that put it together. It was an amazing event. So very, very well done. Even got a chance to talk briefly with Willem Avenant. If you guys have been seeing that, I've got an actual phone call with him tomorrow. Today's Sunday, April 14th. You guys will be hearing this in a little bit, but talking to him tomorrow, we're going to be doing another episode of the Decoding Dakar, as well as a review, the Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge that he just finished up not too long ago. So if you guys aren't following him, you want to check the link in the description, find out a little bit more about the Decoding Dakar thing, because he is starting from the beginning. If the question has ever come up, like, how do I race the Dakar? Well, he is going through it and catching up. You've got the new point system that they got to compete with to try and get into the event. There's a few different things going on. So very interested in seeing how this progresses and bringing those episodes to you guys. So very awesome there. Let's see here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the technology. So going into the SoCal Rally last year, it was one of those things that I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go with the standard roadbook setup, paper, do the whole thing, taping and all of that, which I still ended up getting a setup. Paper is still going to be the most widespread use as of right now. Tablets are coming. They're coming in hot. They haven't figured it out quite yet for the actual like Dakar Rally. They've tried it. They've got a few different things, but from my understanding, still the reviews are not good enough to say that they're going to switch from paper to that. So we'll see how that goes with a lot of new options coming. But I figured, okay, this year we're going to try a tablet. We're going to do something a little bit different. If you guys saw my setup last year, I had it right on the bars, moto-minded stout mount directly to the F2R plates, the Rally Moto Shop mounting plate, everything just kind of set up right on the handlebars, right on that pivot point, not swinging way out of there. Race application, it's a little bit far down to take a look, glance down, see the map, and then look back up. But I'm not racing. I'm out basically verifying road books. So it's not like I'm, needing to be competitive and, I'm holding it wide open. I can actually slow down and not have any issues with that. So I decided to this time around, I'm like, okay, well, I want more clearance. I want more distance between my chest and the bars. And we're able to do that. I was able to get that set up, again, using the Moto-Minded Stout mount as the base, as the platform for it, because that seems to be, having that amps pattern and then having that ability to slide that top plate back and forth a little bit to adjust just works. It's exactly what I needed to do what I needed to do. So based off of that, created a mount, through the RallyWorks side of things, and was able to mount up a Galaxy Tab Active 3 with it and use that as a tool. Now, there was something kind of unexpected that happened. One, daylight visibility. That is the biggest topic right now in tablets. Absolutely the biggest tablet topic. I'm going to get tongue-tied saying that a bunch of times, but that has been one of the biggest things that I've seen, at least with tablets, right? I mean, yeah, the IP67, it's waterproof up to 9.32 miles or whatever, all of these other things and dust proof and this and that. But the end game, the end thing that always kind of seems to draw the line in the sand is how bright is it and can you read it in the sun? Most tablets are going to struggle with that. Willem Avenant has introduced the Rally Tab. He's got one that's spec'd out to what he wanted. And the thing is good. It's very, very close in maybe some situations, but no tablet is exempt to that as of yet. It's basically, that's the standard. And then you start going downhill from there. There are things like the Ico Tower 1. There are some things coming from RNS and F2R. There are tablets coming, but how readily available are they right now? They're pretty much unobtainium. But if you were so inclined and you needed a tablet and you wanted to get started in something, you could go to the link in the description and you could go right into the stores and find a tablet. A rugged tablet will do the job. And I was happy with the Tab Active 3 because, one, it is readily available. Two, the price tag isn't astronomical. And the battery life is pretty good. Screen's pretty good, pretty bright. You can see it. The way I have my setup, I kind of, block the sun anyway. And so it was fairly easy to read the whole day. I didn't really have any issues. But then again, I'm not racing. So it's not like I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't see it for that 1 second. It's okay. I can let off the throttle. Well, who am I kidding? I'm not riding fast enough to even say let off the throttle. But it was, in the end, it worked. It did the job that I needed it to do, and it worked well. One of the key parts, though, I'm going to say one of the key parts that made a difference in that, and there was a few other people running this tablet out there that I saw, but one of the biggest things was the power. So in order to run this tablet, one of the first things you got to do is you got to run the brightness all the way up, right? You're going to have to max it out. Yeah, well, there goes the screen life. I know, but that's part of the game, right? So you got to max it out. Well, which that means is now you are making the tablet run at the processor, the graphics processor run, and then the screen brightness all the way up. You're putting a load on this thing. And so the biggest thing that I saw, and I had a few people mention this, was the power issue that they were running, that the charging system that they were using was not keeping up with the demand. And that is, well, unfortunately, it's kind of a bummer because you're only going to get a couple of hours out of this. And well, if you guys know roadbooks, and if you're me, you're going to be out there the whole day. So that turned into an issue for a few people. And only after the second person mentioned it, I'm like, well, wait a minute. And then I look and I'm like, I've been at 100% all day. If I unplug it or turn it off, I'm just sitting and watching the battery drain, but I'll maybe lose like 6 or 7%, stop for gas, stop for food, that kind of thing, stop to have a drink of water. Par for the course, right? If you got the thing set up to max brightness. I was also, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, but I was also running another program in the background that was helping me. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But in this particular case, basically what saved my butt was I'm running the Gamber-Johnson plate or the dock for the Tab Active 3. Now, I'm kind of giving away the recipe to a lot of these things. I do have some videos and some things that I'm going to do on each specific component, but what I'm trying to do is, you guys, the listeners, try and give you just a kind of a quick picture of what I'm running and the whys behind it, so that if you're in that, you can jump on it, because it was the way to go. So anyway, the Gamber-Johnson mount that I found, there was two big things for me on that one. Well, one was, first and foremost, RAM mount. Everybody has heard of RAM mounts. Everybody uses the RAM mounts, a 1-inch ball type setup, yada, yada, yada. Well, their mount their clip for the Galaxy Tab Active 3 includes the recess or like a step up to allow for the backing or the QR reader. I don't know, something that goes back there. And what it does is it ends up adding thickness. I think it adds about 3/4 of an inch to the back of the tablet of dead space, right? Of stuff you don't need. And I'm like, well, my goal is to get this thing as flat as possible. So this does not work for what I'm trying to do. Okay. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay, well, let's take a look around. And I stumbled across the stuff from Gamber-Johnson. They use the pins on the side of the tablet to charge it, not the port at the bottom of the tablet. So that worked out really well. Well, they include their own power converter to be able to plug it in to it. And that was the secret sauce. That is what actually kept the tablet running the whole day, no problems. Every time I looked down, it was at 100%. There was never any issues, always at max brightness. It worked perfectly. And so it's not like the screen was turning on and off, or, like when you mess with it, which I still got to figure out. All right, who knows how to turn off the auto screen rotation on those? I need to do that, because that was annoying. I'd be, for some reason, I'd lean the bike way over and all of a sudden it goes into the other mode, and now I can't read the roadbook correctly and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, if you know how to do that on Androids, how to lock the screen so it doesn't rotate, let me know. I want to know that. So anyway, that worked out super, super well. The only thing I did to really kind of quote unquote modify that thing was add a little bit of security. For those of you that saw the pictures, I actually went out and sized out 2 O-rings that would fit around it to kind of help keep the tablet in place just in case it unclipped. Never had an issue. I don't know that I hit hard enough. For some of you guys that ride a lot faster than that might be a thing, but I figured, well, I'm just going to slide some O-rings over this and it's just going to be like a seat belt. And it worked out. I just slid them over a little bit and they actually lined up with the boxes on the road book. Never knew they were there. Never got in the way. Never was like, oh, I can't see this number. So it worked out perfect. But that was the setup that I ran in addition to the mount that I made through RallyWorks to be able to mount the rally comp up front and just above the road book, because that's the setup I've been looking for, right? If I have a rally comp and I don't need to see the cap and auto heading on the tablet, I just want the road book on the tablet. And then if you're OCD like me, you want to see that, but then you also want it to scroll smoothly. You want it to scroll like a road book would and not like skip pages like a PDF reader does. So with that, we did with I'm using the Pieced program. Let me see if I can find it here. It's like Pieced Roadbook Reader. Let's see here, Pieced Roadbook app. Yep, Pieced Roadbook Reader. And it worked out super, super well. You can program it. You can turn things on and off. I've heard that Terra Pirata is the same thing or very similar to. So I want to check that out and see if I can use that maybe and figure that out a little bit. You know, I got to get some more information on that one. I know that Willem Eminent uses that for his setup. So, you know, well, time to do a little bit more exploring. But anyway, so that worked out really, really well for me. Kept the power going all day. The tablet did not overheat. I didn't really have any issues with that. My only issue, and we'll talk about that here in just a second, was well, user error. With that, we had finished up the day. It was just absolutely awesome. It really was. It was one of those days. Now, yes, I got my ass handed to me because that was literally the first time riding after not riding for an entire year. Literally the last time I rode the bike was at SoCal Rally the previous year. So that was a bit of a challenge, but it worked out. We finished the stage. It was a long day, but you know, I remember the last little bit, it was like, okay, this road leads back to the campground or where we're camped. So we could go down this way, but this says it's only 20 more kilometers. And for those playing the home game, we were talking 12 miles. So I'm like, 12 more miles after doing all of this, like we can make it happen. And so I was off. We went and did the whole loop. We came back. And then I just remember getting back onto that camp road or that main road once again, and just the perfect amount of dusk, you know, the perfect amount of light. And it was just like everything just in your head switched. And it was... Hey guys, what's going on? This is Victor with the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hey, super quick break in the episode. Let's talk about it. We have got the newsletter. If you have not signed up for that already, get on over to the link in the description, head on over to the website and get signed up. So looking to bring you guys information on both Chasing Waypoints upcoming episodes, rally schools, rally events coming up, videos, all the stuff that we've got going on in the rally community here in North America and abroad. We're looking to share that with you guys. So if you haven't already, jump on over. Link is in the description. Head on over to the website, get signed up for the newsletter, and let's get back to the episode. Amazing. Bike was working great. I did a bunch of changes, even coming into this one, even though I hadn't ridden in a while, but I was absolutely surprised. And I got to say hats off to Mike Crow Performance. Did the suspension on it. You know, I bought the front forks on this, got rid of those 4CS, the 4-chamber system forks. That, you know, Ty Davis did a great job on working on this, but I had an opportunity to jump on a set of forks from Crow as it sat, even I would say undersprung according to, and he even told me this is probably undersprung for what you're trying to do, but just go ride it first. And I love it. It's really, really, really close in my opinion to what I am looking for. I'm not a fast rider, so I don't hit or clip the top of whoops. So I will probably use more travel than the average guy. So I need something that's a little bit plusher that's not going to, hose me in the hand. So, which by the way, we got some other stuff coming for that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think I want to do an episode on the 501. I have to do an episode, like really go into detail, I think, and I'll probably split it up and put it into YouTube. But because honestly, the bike has been it's been a really good bike. It's a great platform. It's still sought after. There's a lot of people that are still like hold that bike in high regard, except for the front forks. And their parts are readily available ish. So it's kind of one of those things. So we'll talk a little bit more about that one. But anyway, so finished up the day. It was absolutely awesome. Cleaned the trailer, did some stuff. The next day, went out and did the calibration loop. It's still pretty beat. So we just did that one. Then from there, I will say that, well, we'll just start with the beginning of the day and why Mason Klein's got the fastest parts delivery in the West. So rolling along, absolutely, I'm excited to be out on the bike. I'm feeling good. Just at that right about first few miles where you're starting to get warmed up and everything is good, hitting a couple of things, getting into the corners, stretching the ankles and getting, loose. And get into the straightaway, kind of get into a couple of bumps, and then I go to grab the front brake, right? And just a little bit, just to slow it down. And the lever goes to the bars. I'm going, well, this is not good. And so what is going on here? And then I hear a click and a pop. And I go, okay, well, that's really, really not good. And I pull it again, and it's really not. But now I'm hearing like a little bit of some clinking, and I'm like, So stand up, lean back, let the bike kind of coast to a stop, feather the rear brake a little bit. And then I look down and, well, my caliper is hanging there by the last bolt. And I'm wondering what it was. And then all of a sudden it just dawned on me. I'm like, I presented those bolts and I just kind of like give them a quick, 3.2 Newton meter twist and did not, one, put thread lock, which I should have. Two, paint marked them so I know that I had gone through them. And that's the thing with paint markers. Sometimes it's not about did they move. It's about I've been here before. I've been here and I actually did something with this bolt and it's now proper, right? But then the rule becomes you don't put paint marker on stuff you haven't torqued. Yada, yada, yada. So I learned a very valuable lesson there, especially after I relayed said incident to actually Mike Johnson, the Jefe over at Rally Comp. And he goes, people have died from stuff like that. So yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that was very serious. So I got lucky. Will it ever happen again? Nope. I will now know much, much better. And you guys listening and that have been riding bikes, you going, I mean, why isn't this? I know you expected better of me, but I don't know what it was. But in the end, I bought the paint marker. I'm doing all of that stuff now. And so I'm trying to really get like these builds dialed in. And that's just going to be part of the routine. So I'm sitting there, and after walking about probably, I want to say half a mile out and back, trying to find this shiny bolt, I was unable to find one. So I'm like, okay, well, that was it. And by the time I got back, my friend Nick had already had dug into his stuff. He happened to have a bolt, and we were working on it to try and get it done. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, well, Mason hasn't passed me yet, and there's a high likelihood he's back at the campground because I have not heard a Honda at the top of the RPM range yet. So I called him, and he happened to be there, and I said, hey, I need a brake caliper bolt. So him and Ryan Norino, we got you, are on our way. And yeah, I pretty much heard him as soon as he fired off the bike and was ripping our way, which very impressive. 5 kilometers in I don't know how many minutes. I mean, he was cooking. Very, very talented rider. There's a lot of talented riders out there, but it's awesome to see riders that have led the Dakar and can ride these long distances and how effortless they make handling the bike look. And I want to get there someday. I think that is an important thing because you can ride that much further by having that ability. And I mean, it like, we got the bolt done. We kept going. We kind of started riding in a group, and we would wait. We would get ahead. Well, let me clarify this. Mason would wait, and then we would ride, and then he would catch up to us. And so getting video and stuff like that. But watching him, there was a particular corner, and I happened to stop, and I'm like, I'm on the outside of the corner. This is 101 stuff. You don't do that. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to scoot a little bit forward, and I'm going to watch how he does this. And so sure enough, it's a 90-degree left, kind of flat, slightly sandy, but kind of it's a little bit thicker. It's not a marble sand. It's like a thicker type sand, a little bit thicker of a layer. So you don't really have to worry about the bike just sliding out. Well, sets up, comes into the corner, comes in wide, drops onto the front of the tank, and then a little bit of rear brake, just kind of backs the bike in. And then as soon as he gets out of the apex, bike stands up, quick little clutch, and then the front tire is literally just lofting off the ground for the next, I don't know. It looked so effortless. It was crazy. I mean, you had to be there to see it. And I just think about like how many hours of riding, how many things, how much stuff that he's had to do to get to that point. But the fact that he just makes it look effortless. And I think that if we could all get to that point in riding our motorcycles, riding our dirt bikes, and he's not pushing. It's not a like a hard, like it was just slightly above a trail riding pace, but it just looked so much like there was no effort involved in it. And I was impressed by that. It was really awesome to see it, up close. The bike that he was on, if you guys know and have been following him, you know that he is running with Honda South America or Honda Brazil, I believe it is, something like that. And the bike that he's on is basically the rally bike that they use down there. It's more of a rally light-ish setup because it does have an additional fuel capacity. It does have an additional rear tank on it, but a very, very good bike. And so, I like seeing the technology of it. But anyway, so really, really awesome to see. It was a lot of fun doing that. It was cool once they got out and we were on our own doing our thing with the roadbook. It worked out really, really well. I mentioned a little bit earlier about other program that was running. This is where I realized that the tablets were going to be a thing. It's when we're out in the middle of nowhere. I'm running the tablet. I'm also in the background. I'm running the Gaia GPS app with the GPS file of the roadbook, right? The actual line on it. And for those, there's some people that are absolute rally purists right now that listen to the show and saying that's cheating and that's going to go. Yes, you're right. If this was a competitive event, that is cheating. You are not allowed to have anything that has any kind of GPS tracks on it or creates a GPS track. Like, if I am not mistaken, like say for instance, Skylar House is not allowed to wear his Garmin watch because, well, it, tracks and blah, blah, blah. But, but that way you don't have any heart rate monitor function now because of that. But they are very, 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 not secretive, very strict on that kind of stuff. For instance, also, your odometers. Odometers have to be wheel driven, cannot be GPS driven at last glance at the rule book. So imagine all this technology you have to be able to perfectly find your position, and you're not allowed to use it in a competitive event because it is against the rules, at least for the Dakar. So that's where I was like, okay, yeah. So not allowed to do that. But when I'm riding and I would get turned around, I mean, there was a few spots where it was like, okay, I missed a turn. I did something. I did the other. It was easy. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go into the roadbook. I know where the roadbook note is. I know where my kilometers is. I need to find where the line was. So then I would go into the Gaia app, go back and then find, okay, here's the line. I'm going to ride back to it. And now I want to see like, okay, here's where I should have made my decision. What was the decision that I made and which way did I go wrong? And I was able to pinpoint that. So as a training tool, is like right then it was instant gratification. It was like, aha, that's what I did wrong. I'm going, I should have waited another little bit. And then that's where that would have been. Or I should have turned in earlier, slowed down earlier, or there's something that I was instantly able to identify by doing that to know that, okay, this is where I screwed up. Now we're back on the road book. Now it's time to get back to business. And then we just continue on down the road book. And of course, the next note I'd screw that up too and then figure it out. But it turned into kind of a little bit of a routine where it helped coach me in like, okay, this is, you got to see these things, you got to slow down. And I thought that as a training tool, the tablet just gained that much more value because unless you have another GPS on there and you have you have the road book in paper format or whatever it is, then now you've got to figure out like, okay, well now let me switch to this, let me do that. Or it's more things on the handlebars, right? You're only complicating your setup. So to me, I didn't think about that going into it. It wasn't until I was out on the stage, I'm like, well, wait, I have the GPS track and well, why don't I just fire that up? And I let it run in the background, while I was running. So again, more demand on the processor for the tablet, and still had no problem. So I was blown away by that, especially after hearing it. And it's a pretty simple setup. It's a positive and negative. It comes with a long lead. You just got to, take it up, do some slack. I use in this particular case, I use the Takomoto add a circuit setup that he's got. You plug it into I believe it's the diagnostic port on the bike, and that triggers the relay, which is hooked up to 12-volt power from the battery, and then it fires off the circuit. So then now you have switched power somewhere else on the bike rather than just at the headlight. So that worked out really well because, I turned the bike off. I'm not draining the battery, not doing all that. So it would work out. So hats off to Takomoto on that one. That was pretty awesome. And then from there, it was pretty cake. Once I figured out, okay, you get rolling, you get going, you get into a rhythm, you start slowing down earlier, you start looking, you kind of get honed in. I struggled a little bit on the single track and the off-piste. For those playing the home game, that's basically when the roadbook says, make a left turn, and you look to the left, and it doesn't look like there's a lot there, and there's usually not a defined trail unless there's people that have gone in front of you. In the SoCal desert, though, that really generally ends up being kind of a single track setup, right? There usually is some kind of single track trail there. But with the rain that we had gotten and the sun, the plants had started to grow, and so it was difficult to see these trails. So that also came in handy, where I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the fence where it says that this starts, and then I'm going to look at the line, and I'm going to get right on the line, and then I switch back to the roadbook, and I was like, okay. And it was a struggle because it was grown, and it was difficult to see it. So I started, widening up my line choice, and I would find lines the other way that were headed kind of in the same direction. That's where you rely on your cap, right? You get onto that line, and then you just kind of stick to the cap heading. Cap heading, for those playing the home game, again, is your compass direction relayed to you in degrees. 0 or 360 is north. So 180 south, right? 270 west. Yeah, 90 east. So it runs on a 360 degree clock there. And they give you, typically on a roadbook, they'll give you your cap heading, and that's the direction you're supposed to head in. They've introduced, or they have, different letters on it. So it could be a cap average, where it's kind of that way, or they're a more specific call out where it is that way. There's different ways that they relay that to you based on the letter that's after the heading itself. So very awesome to navigate it. They threw in some compound notes, as I'm calling them, where, traditionally in a couple of years ago, it would have been 2 different notes. They were now into one note, right? Where you maybe change direction after a certain amount of meters, or, there is another turn, or your real turn is over on this, another few meters down. There's a couple of different examples, but it worked. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun. So looking forward to that one. I'm working on getting back into the garage since I found a few things. I got to spring the bike just a little heavier for my weight. I want to clean it up and try some different things and get ready. I am going to pull the roadbook stuff off temporarily because I want to go log some miles. Probably going to do some stuff with, if you guys haven't heard, I did do an episode with Edgar Cota. He's an Ironman racer out of San Diego. And we were talking about, doing some classes and doing some riding because, I want to get safer and I want to get a little bit quicker. Once you get the seat time, that's what generally starts to happen. So that's what I'm looking to do. That's going to be coming up. Probably going to be working on the bike all day tomorrow in the garage after we do some cleaning today and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of been the rundown. I'm trying to think what I missed. I mean, I feel like it's been a month since we've talked, and so it's been interesting. I did in this meantime, in the month that I was gone, and this was right after SoCal Rally, getting back was my start. For those of you that didn't know, I was I am now a former Tesla employee. I spent a few years there doing the thing, And, conversation was always open back. And, I decided it was time to make a change. Not afraid to make a change. So officially, I am back at San Diego BMW Motorcycles as a working in the service department, right? The title doesn't matter. In the service department and having fun. I mean, that was like, it's kind of a crazy thing, right? When you decide to make a choice and make a change, and it's just sometimes, you second guess yourself, like, is this the right thing? Am I just being weak and not, like, why, why do that? Like, do you really need to do that? Or are you just, trying to run away from something, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very interesting conversation that I had with myself about that. But in the end, I chose mental health over all else. So that was important to me. And I ended up back. And when my watch told me that my resting heart rate had dropped by like 6 beats per minute, I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign that is that I made the right choice. But so that's how it went down. That is where I'm at now. And I'm happy to be back in the motorcycle industry, in the adventure bike side of things, especially. So we'll be doing some more of that stuff. We're trying to see the 790s on the chopping block, and we'll be looking at to replace that with something afterwards once that moves on down the road. But in the meantime, it's like I'm happy to be back in that. So it's definitely a lot of fun, and it's really awesome to see. BMW's definitely means some business. If you guys haven't seen the F900 GS, I've seen a couple of videos of it, but I've actually had a chance to see it in person, sit on it, and I am impressed with that bike for sure. The suspension is nice, being Showa 45 millimeter. You can tell that they've progressed. It was the GS that we wanted back when I originally worked there and had the 850 GS. It's like they went through, they did all of this, but then they just did not go with a decent fork setup. They went with an adequate fork setup, but they didn't go with something that had adjustability that you could really do some more to it. So in the end, I'm happy to see that. We'll see how things progress if I end up on one of those. Just got to see where the financial side of thing is, because, well, we have to be responsible adults, remember? But I guess anything is a need if you want it bad enough, right? Wants and needs. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So I think that's, I don't know. What do you think? I think that's a pretty good stopping point. We've covered a lot of ground. It's the first episode back after a month. I'm excited to see that. I hope you guys have been well and everything has been good. You guys been out riding. Got some stuff coming. I'm trying to pare it down and make things a little bit simpler. So, unfortunately, there's only 24 hours in the day, and I'd like to use some of those for riding every once in a while. So that is a wrap for today's episode, guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking with us. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Looking forward to doing more. And hey, if you got show ideas, you got anything like that, hit us up. You know where it is. Instagram at Chasing Waypoints. Or you can also drop us a line via the website. And if you haven't already, you're going to want to sign up for the newsletter. We are starting in on that one. If you haven't already seen it, we've got a blog that is going on. Lizzie's got a post up there that you're going to want to check out, doing a profile on one of the competitors / mechanics with the off-piste adventures. And yeah. So anyway, with that being said, guys, remember, shiny side up, and it will make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride. All right, that is a wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Looking forward to our next one coming up. Remember, if you are out riding, do not forget to tag us at Chasing Waypoints. Hashtag Chasing Waypoints. And if you haven't already, get on over to the website. Get signed up for the newsletter, The Bivouac. North America's Rally Raid and Adventure Riding newsletter. Hey, let's have some fun. Let's find out what are you guys up to. Let's get you featured. If you're a brand and looking to get supported, get some eyeballs, get some ears on your business, absolutely hit us up. Send us a message at podcast at Chasing Waypoints. But anyway, that is a wrap. Remember, shiny side up. See you guys.